Hey, my name is Josh Valentin, and I have a question for you guys. Do you want a way to not only increase productivity but optimize your performance on your PC? Did you know that upgrading from a hard disk drive to a solid state drive can do this? And now with price drops and more availability, you can upgrade to one at a reasonable price. Now, the slowest component in modern computers relative to all others is a storage device. And for most of us, that's the hard disk drive. The primary difference between solid-state drives and hard disk drives is moving parts, and solid-state drives have none. A hard disk drive is a mechanical device with spinning platters and read-write heads moving over them, sort of like a record player. Now, the heads must move over the appropriate area of the platter while they're spinning to access data, and the platters might have to spin around a few times in order to read the data and access all of it. Now, an SSD, on the other hand, is one big piece of flash, for example, a solid-state memory. Data access is instant, and there's no need for waiting for the spinning platters to access all of the data and find it. Now, I wanted to have better performance for the programs I was running on my computer, and I decided finally upgrading to an SSD, and it boosts the performance of my computer by a whole lot. Now, I started out by getting a 64 gigabyte SSD for the installation of the operating system I was using, which is Windows 8, and this increased the load times and the overall speed at which Windows 8 carries out commands by a whole lot. I then decided to upgrade to a bigger capacity, a 256 gigabyte SSD, and this was for bigger programs like video games and Adobe Suite and programs that rendered data at a fast rate, and the performance increase was night and day. Now, transfer rates on an SSD are about 30 to 50% more efficient than a hard disk drive. For example, when booting up Windows 8 and all of your programs, it takes a normal hard disk drive about a minute or two to boot, and a solid-state drive can boot everything in a matter of seconds. Now, this means programs ran on a solid-state drive transfer data faster. It's an even bigger deal with more programs that when you run more than one program and it's requesting disk access, such as trying to copy files and do something else at the same time. Hard disk drives aren't that good at multitasking, unlike solid-state drives. Now, you may ask yourself, why doesn't everyone have a solid-state drive? Now, the first reason is that they're expensive. Hard drive storage might be as cheap as 15 to 20 cents a gigabyte, but SSDs hover near the dollar per gigabyte range. Now, SSDs are much cheaper today than they were a few years ago, about several dollars per gigabyte cheaper, but nonetheless, the difference is still there. Another disadvantage with SSDs is the limited storage capacity compared to hard disk drives. Now, for notebook applications, they're commonly found with only 256 gigabytes or so. Larger drives exist, but are exponentially more expensive. And at some point, is it cost efficient to spend that kind of money on a storage upgrade? Hard drives are readily available up to 1 terabyte, which is 1,000 gigabytes in a 2.5-inch form factor. Now, overall, the performance increase is still there. And the information I presented is meant to not only give you advice, but also show you the pros and cons of upgrading from a hard disk drive to a solid state drive. You can really optimize your